And if everybody would just kind of mute yourselves so that we don't have any, background noises. And when you're up, the chairperson will let you know that.
Are we good to go?
Yes, we have a quorum. We have 4 members, well, 5 members now.
And we're technically ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to call to order the Cuyahoga County Council Finance and Budgeting Committee meeting for Monday, September 21st, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
On the roll, Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Tuma,
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. Mr. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Shrine,
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Baker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment that's been sent to us?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has submitted any public comment.
Okay, the next item is approval of the minutes from the July 27th, 2020 meeting. Those items were included with the agenda packet. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Brown.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Tron. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and the minutes from the July 27, 2020 meeting are approved as presented. And if there is no objection, I'm gonna change the agenda a little bit. Even though there's a lot of ordinances, I think the issue on the refunding is more straightforward, and so I would like to resolve that first. Is there any objection to hearing the refunding first? Hearing none, we're going to proceed with that, and I would like to ask the clerk to read all of the items from B through N into the record simultaneously. And if there is no objection, I would like to ask that she read the first item in full and the last item, which was somewhat different from the other ones, in full, and read all of the intervening items by a shorter title. Is there any objection to that?
No.
Hearing none, we will proceed in that fashion, and I will ask the clerk to please read them into the record.
Resolution number 2020-0185, providing for the issuance and sale of one or more series of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $16,275,000 to refund at a lower interest cost all or a portion of the $15,770,000 of the county's outstanding capital improvement and refunding bonds, Series 2012A and Series 2012B, that are stated to mature on December 1st in each of the years from 2021 through 2024, all of which were issued as a part of a consolidated issue of capital improvement and refunding bonds, Series 2012, dated as of December 13, 2012, to provide funds to pay for acquiring, constructing, adding to, remodeling, renovating, rehabilitating, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving buildings, facilities, and structures for county offices and functions, and acquiring, improving, and equipping sites for such buildings, facilities, and structures, in each case together with all necessary appurtenances and work incidental thereto. Resolution number 2020-0186, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $2,435,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the county's portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, adding to, remodeling, renovating, rehabilitating, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving county jail, correctional, and juvenile detention facilities, and acquiring and improving sites for those facilities. Resolution number 2020-0187, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $470,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the county's portion of the cost of improving Orange Place in cooperation with the municipality of Orange Village by grading, draining, curbing, paving, and constructing sidewalks, storm and sanitary sewers and water lines. Resolution number 2020-0188, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $135,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the property owner's portion of the cost of constructing county improvement number 1460 Phase 1, being water lines and 5 roads in County Sewer District number 14 in Olmsted Township. Resolution number 2020-0189, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $55,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the property owner's portion of the cost of constructing county improvement number 1460 Phase 2, a 12-inch water line and appurtenances in Sharp Road from Sprague Road to Shady Road in County Sewer District number 14 in Olmsted Township. Resolution number 2020-0190, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $40,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the property owner's portion of the cost of constructing county water improvement number 2300 in County Sewer District number 23 in Chagrin Falls Township. Resolution number 2020-0191, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $680 to provide funds to pay the county's contribution to the acquisition and equipping of the Village of Highland Hills Municipal Building and the renovation and construction and reconstruction of improvements thereto. Resolution number 2020-0192, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $32,670,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the cost of constructing, adding to, remodeling, renovating, rehabilitating, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving buildings, facilities, and structures for county offices and functions, and improving and equipping sites for such buildings, facilities, and structures. Resolution number 2020-0193, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $17,555,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay the cost of constructing, adding to, remodeling, renovating, rehabilitating, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving county jail, correctional, and juvenile detention facilities and improving sites for those facilities. Resolution number 2020-0194, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $300,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay costs of acquiring radios and other communications equipment, together with all necessary appurtenances for use in carrying out functions of the Sheriff's Department. Resolution number 2020-0195, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $225,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay costs of improving the county fairgrounds by acquiring, constructing, and installing a wind turbine and related equipment to provide electrical power to the fairgrounds. Resolution number 2020-0196, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $215,000 to refund at a lower interest cost, to provide funds to pay costs of reconstructing, resurfacing, and otherwise improving and equipping runways at the county airport. Resolution number 2020-0197, providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $51,875,000 to advance refund at a lower aggregate interest cost all or a portion of the $41,005,000 of the county's outstanding various purpose sales tax revenue bonds, Series 2014A, dated as of December 17, 2014, and are stated to mature on December 1st, 2029, and on December 1 in each of the years from 2032 through 2035, all of which were issued to provide funds to pay the cost of constructing, maintaining, expanding, refurbishing, renovating, upgrading, improving, furnishing, and equipping various county buildings, and refunding certain bonds previously issued, in each case together with the necessary appurtenances and work incidental thereto.
Okay, thank you very much. Those items are now all before us, and we have Director Chambers and our financial advisor, Bob France, available, and I'm going to ask them to present them to the committee as a package, and then we will have discussion.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Miller. All of that information is just a grand way of saying that we're looking to take advantage of our 2012 and 2014 bonds, and we're looking to refund them just purely only for the sake that the rates are low and it's for savings. We're in unusual times, and we have a short presentation that Bob's going to go through here in a second. But all of this is just opportunity that we're taking, and hopefully you'll see the results and what we're going to make out of this in a second. So Bob, if you want to share your screen, or Trevor, and put the presentation up. Or if you need me to do it, let me know.
Bob, are you doing that?
I cannot share my screen at the moment.
I think Ashley might have to change the setting.
You should be able to now.
There you go. Okay, so
There we
you
go.
should be looking at brief presentation cover right here. Everybody able to see it?
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick overview of what we just heard and what Fiscal Officer Chambers just mentioned. We are looking to take advantage of the current market environment to maximize debt service cost savings to the county. The 2012 bonds were issued in a total amount of $111,305,000 for 12 different purposes. In order to keep the structure intact, to make sure that we're adhering to all requirements for all 12 purposes. That's why there are 12 different resolutions before the committee and before council. Again, we're not doing anything new. It's a lot of paperwork on this, but we're just doing it to be very diligent to make sure we're not extending different maturities, since there are 12 different purposes here. So we are just looking to refund those on a tax exempt basis to maximize debt service savings. The 2014 sales tax revenue bonds, the county sold those in 2014 for $137,890,000. Currently outstanding $136,700,000. What we're looking to do with this series is select a couple of the maturities which produce the highest amount of savings, and not refund the maturities which produce marginal or little to no savings. So again, to take advantage of the current interest rate environment to maximize savings to the county. This slide here, very simply, it's a couple of different interest rates, two different interest rates from this year to current. The little box there, we are right off of historic lows on tax exempt and taxable interest rates. That's why we're talking to you today. And then at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is save money. How much money are we saving on a present value basis? We're looking at about $10.8 million of savings. Future value over the term, over the life of the deal, about $12.849 million of cash flow savings to the county, all within very well defined boundaries by industry standards of 3 to 5% present value savings over bonds being refunded. So we won't know what those savings will be finally until mid-October, but we feel pretty confident that these are definitely attainable and looking to get to market again in mid-October to put these savings in concrete and for the benefit of the taxpayers and the benefit of the county.
So Director Chambers,
Yeah.
am I correct that the industry standard is that there should be a 3 to 5% present value savings, and we're expecting to get somewhere around 10% on these, so it's well in excess of the standard. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. You know,
Oh, okay, so
I'll go back to the prior screen because I like it myself, but any questions? I'm happy to help fill them, and Director Chambers is as well.
okay, are there any questions by my colleagues?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Tron?
what's the total cost of the issuance that we're looking at? That is that including all attorney's fees, all any fees we're paying to you all the way through the whole process?
Yes, this is net of all costs. Right now, my numbers here are very conservative with respect to costs. We haven't built those up yet. These numbers assume over $1 million of cost. Looking at past deals that we've done, they should be somewhere in the range of $600,000 to $700,000 of costs. So I'm probably being overly conservative with that, but until we build up and have a better number, that's kind of how I like to proceed on these.
And are we getting quotes from are we getting quotes from the bonding companies, the insurance, the law firms on this? Or are we only singly selected a single firm?
no, so is Greg, are you on, Greg, if you wanted to address that? But I do believe he went out and solicited quotes for this particular one, and he did.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, that's correct. I sent a brief description of the transaction to about a half a dozen different firms and got proposals back from
What firm actually are we going with?
them. Kelfie Halter, Gigi Benjamin from that firm is on the call with us.
Okay. So they were competitive against the other firms that quoted this project.
Oh, yeah, yes. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So to follow up on Councilman Schwann's question, what were the selection factors in choosing Calfee over the other 4 or 5 bidders on the project?
Mr. Chairman, primarily it's experience with this type of a transaction.
So did they not differ significantly in cost?
They were actually at the low end, yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions by my colleagues? Okay, not hearing any questions. I am going to recommend that we encourage their passage on second reading suspension at the next council meeting, because we want to get these out to market in early to mid-October and not have any turbulence around the election time. And out of an abundance of caution, we're going to vote on them one by one. And so we're going to start with 2020-185, and I'm going to move that we recommend second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. And for the first one, I'm going to ask if there's any discussion, and on each of the next ones, I'm just going to pause for a few seconds, and if anyone has any discussions, they should jump in. Otherwise, I'm going to call for the roll. So is there any discussion on 185? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's so recommended. I move we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-186. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is so recommended.
Aye.
I move we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-187. Is there a second?
Second.
Brown.
All those in favor say aye.
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 It is so recommended. I move we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-188. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. I move we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-189. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's approved. Okay, I move that we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-190. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, it's approved. And I move that we recommend second reading suspension on 191. Is there a second?
I'll second, Brown.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, it's approved. I move that we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-192. Is there a second?
I'll second, Brown.
Thank you. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, it is so recommended. I recommend that we approve 2020-193 for second reading suspension. Is there a second?
I'll second, Brown.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, it's recommended, and I move that we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-194. Is there a second?
Second, Brown. Yep. I'll kick it to you, Sharon.
You're on a roll there. I didn't want to butt in.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Ayes have it, it's recommended. And I move we recommend second reading suspension on 195, 2020-195. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Seconded by Councilman Schwan by an island.
Okay.
And hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It's recommended. And I move we recommend second reading suspension on 2020-196. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is
Aye, aye.
recommended. Is there anyone opposed? Say no. Okay, fine. Okay, finally, on 2020-197, the sales tax bonds, I recommend that we and move that we recommend second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, try.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. It is so recommended, and all of the items are recommended. They'll be on the 29th agenda. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I would
Yes,
like to recognize that Ms. Simon had entered the meeting shortly after the roll call was taken, and she voted on each and every one of the resolutions with the rest of the committee. And I just wanted to mention that for the audio record of this meeting.
great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, having that in the record. And now I'm gonna ask Ashley to read item A into the record.
Resolution number 2020-0198, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1500235 with Harris Computer Corporation for software implementation services for the real property tax system for the period October 1, 2015 to September 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2022, to change the terms effective October 1st, 2020. No additional funds required.
Thank you very much. And if there is no objection, I would like to have the discussion item number 6A, the update on the Harris IT project, be conducted simultaneously with the hearing of the legislation. Hearing no objection, that is what we'll do. And I would call upon the director to make the presentation.
Okay, Jack, are you going to take the lead on this? I think I lost Jack.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. Mike,
Okay, well,
do
welcome.
you have me back? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
The Harris project legislation and the discussion item are before the committee simultaneously, and we're ready for you to proceed and present to the council.
Right, I was just going to introduce the fact that we had both Mike Chambers, Debbie Daftovich from the IT department, and Joanne Jackson on the call. And that we were going to sort of share responsibility for the presentation going forward. And Mike, I don't know if you wanted to provide some introductory comments. I apologize for being on mute a second ago. We lose Mike Chambers? Mike, are you on mute?
I think Mike is.
I am no longer. Thank you. I
Okay.
muted for you.
Oh.
I just
Sorry.
wanted to remind council where we started back last October. And since then, we've come a very long way in 9-10 months. We basically had to do a complete reboot of the entire system. And thanks to Harris for stepping up, assigning new project manager and a new VP to help us move forward. I'll also remind them that they, council as well, that the committee, they want this done as much as we do. And I think you'll be pleased with the progress we made and some of the terms that this amendment will bring. It's basically, we feel very strong to the county. It defines more of the terms on deliverables, and Jackson go through the presentation, but I just want everyone to know that we've come a very long way. And I think as a team, we're very proud of where we got to so far. So go ahead, Jack.
Okay. Well, just starting with the overall status for the program, there's actually 3 components to the program. 2 of them are active right now. The Harris tax, I think, is the one that everybody's probably most familiar with, which we're showing overall is 73% complete currently. And there'll be details of each of these components here and where we're at with this, but this is just a high-level status to sort of introduce this at this point. Not as active at this point is the CAMA project. That's the computer-assisted mass appraisal side of the project. And we're really at 10%. They're just really just getting started with that part of the project. The focus is clearly on Harris tax, which is the most critical and under which we've made the most progress. There's been significant accomplishments, as Mike had indicated, so far with the project. One of those accomplishments is just reworking the contract we're not only asking for an extension, but we're also have added some significant accountability and milestones to the project that make it the progress a lot more measurable, and also tied those milestones to payments. And you'll see that here in detail here in just a few minutes. So very clear definitions or clarifying definitions on what is to be delivered along with those milestones in every step of the way. We also have reduced the maintenance costs in the event that the tax project is delayed beyond the requested extension through December. There's significant penalties of $50,000 a month built into the contract language. So just getting through that process, and with the good cooperation from Harris and everyone working together, I think has come up with the contract amendment that you have before you at this point. Some of the other things that have been done that are significant here, Harris had reassigned a dedicated Momentum MVP resource. MVP is our current tax collection system, and the conversion of data is very complex, and there's a lot of different components involved here. Having an expert on board, which was not there before, with the Harris team to assist us in the data conversion effort is a real significant addition to their team. So that's just one of several things that they've done. They've also have new management leadership in their team across the board, along with that technical resource that is made progress, is going to enhance our progress, and already has enhanced our progress significantly. The other thing that's been done, and Debbie will talk to this here a little further down in the presentation, have real significant efforts to streamline the whole effort of functional testing. There's, I think we started out with some 9,000 test cases that was just maybe in a little more detail and difficult to manage the way it was organized. It's been streamlined to focus on key areas and to group those tests in a way that's going to be much more effective, and it's already showing up in the test results that we have further down in the presentation. Last but not least here, just on the county side, we have done some and are doing some organizational structuring here to make sure that we have recognized that this real estate program needs to be managed much in the same way that, for example, the ERP system requires a whole management structure going forward. This is a significant project, a significant piece of software and a solution to be maintained and critical to the county. We want to make sure that we have the right organizational structure in place. So we'll, at the end of the presentation, we'll just talk briefly about that as well. So those are just some of the accomplishments up to this point. Some of the challenges that we have here, I'm going to let Debbie talk to some of these points here as well, but just because of the complexity of functional testing, and we wanted to make sure that we allowed significant time for that testing. We built that into the schedule and into the schedule extension. And we've, there's just building an extension doesn't mean people are working less. As a matter of fact, if people are working on the team, are working overtime, exchange hours and so forth to make sure that they make these schedules happen. So I think everybody is on both sides of the team are working really hard at making all of these things happen. I'd mentioned we have a long-term staffing strategy we put in place to make sure that we have the right staff in place long-term. And we're taking actions to make sure that we in any vacancies that we have are currently posted and are being worked and recruited for. So that's, and the data conversion taking a little longer than expected. I'm going to let Debbie talk to both the functional testing and the data conversion testing and just some of the challenges there. Debbie, if you would.
Yeah, so, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, the data conversion is taking a long time. The structure of the MVP tables is very complex. There's thousands of tables with, a lot of temporary data in there. And the way that MVP is coded, they use a lot of effective dating that makes, trying to match up that data from the Harris database to the MVP database, match that data up very difficult. So, we can run reports out of the current system and try and balance to Harris data, but really having that expert that knows the MVP data structure and to be able to go in and troubleshoot and correct that data where we find discrepancies is going to be invaluable. So that just happened recently. And some of the functional testing is taking a little bit longer than anticipated. Just because of that data conversion effort. So, when we developed our test plan, we have certain criteria for how test cases pass or fail based on functionality or data or calculations. So we're waiting on actually a refresh today that should bring a lot of our test cases that are currently blocked, open them back up so that we can run through and complete those tests.
Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on to where we're at program finances wise. I know this is these numbers had been presented, I think, before with the updated notes this time. So we have the three components of the program: Harris Tax, CAMA, and Business Tax. Business Tax has not been started yet in terms of what's underway at this point. Then we have built into the numbers, and again, I need to emphasize right up front here, there's no change in the overall contract numbers here. So what we're doing in this contract amendment is we're aligning milestones differently, providing accountability, adding a penalty chart clause here, but the total dollars on the contract have not been increased from this. In fact, based on the notes that you see on the right-hand side here, some of the things that we've done has really resulted in either some actual savings or some very real potential deferred, what may be savings that we're going to pick up as we go through the project here, and those are listed on this side. So Harris, Mike Chambers had already negotiated a credit for maintenance costs for that were originally going to be prorated out in 2020, resulting in a $360,000 savings that you see there. The implementation cost currently include $465,000 in parallel testing, what's listed as optional parallel testing, when you see some detail a little later. The fact of the matter is that there were 4 parallel testing periods defined, and what really needs to happen to be most effective is to take a single parallel testing period and do that testing over the life, or the development, or testing life rather, of the remaining parts of the project. So we may be able to save, those were $155,000 a piece. We may be able to save 3 of those, which is the $165,000. Currently, that we don't reflect that as a decrease in the contract value. We left the contract value the same, but we wanted to identify that as some of the positive actions that have been taking and working with Harris in doing this part of replanning of the projects. Maintenance fees have been deferred until go live, and the total dollar value of making that negotiation, which was already previously done before this amendment, you could see is $526,000 estimated. So that's the current financial status. That gives you an idea of some of the savings that have resulted from the negotiations that have taken place as part of the process of doing this contract amendment.
So, Director, does the 526,000 savings on maintenance fees include the 360,000 from 2020? Or Or are the 526 and the 360 two different items?
Those are two different items at this point, the way
So
they're
that-
accounted for.
So
Yes,
that
sir.
means the total savings on maintenance is 800 and some thousand, is that correct?
Over the life of the project that we have it, yes, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. Moving on, so we go back here for this line of contingency that's reflected here is detailed out on the next slide. And contingency was designed to be consumed as necessary by change orders based on the requirements that have resulted from testing on the project. And Debbie, I'll let you just talk if you would, to the contingency, some of the items here that are in the contingency or the change orders, in other words, that have taken place.
Sure. So some of the invoices that we've paid for change orders, Melissa mailer, it's basically a zip code address verification lookup. When we originally pushed out the project, we did not have OnBase as our standard for document management, but we already have all of our documents in OnBase. So through the application, we'll be able to click on a link and pull up those documents. We made some changes regarding cashiering, payment plans, obviously Infor. When we originally put the RFP out, it was to interface with Famous, and some other changes basically that were not included in the original RFP. And we have several invoices that are pending, that they've delivered that functionality. We haven't officially signed off on them for payment yet, because we still need to test some of these items to verify that they are working correctly.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on contingency items? Okay, moving forward to just summarize some of the amendment highlights. First of all, everyone should have a copy of the amendment, the latest version. There was an update that we provided that should be in all of the documentation that's signed by Harris, ready for presentation to this committee. It was provided last week. But so it covers the structure. First of all, based on the structure of the contract, the amendment covers all three components. So they're all included. All components we've talked about are included as part of the amendment. And there's no, as I'd mentioned, there's no dollar value increases for the overall contract value. Maintenance fees deferred until go live is built into the contract or the amendment language. The milestones, which I'm going to cover in detail on the next slide, have been negotiated into a much finer grained set of milestones, allowing for better accountability as we progress through actual deliverables. Penalties are built into the contract language as well. Those are enumerated on page 1 of the amendment. And there are also, I should mention, some incentives under discussion with Harris that could result in a reduction of license fees after we go live. There are 87 other counties in the state of Ohio that Harris would potentially want to target as part of their marketing plan. And to the degree that we can support that and have a working system we're happy with and are willing to support that, that's being discussed with both law and the IG to make sure that we're properly aligned with those two departments and we have a clear signal to go ahead with that. But that has been done before and in other areas, other counties. And so we think there's an opportunity to further reduce our costs under that kind of an arrangement.
Jack, if I could add too, as Jack,
Yes, sir.
There are 87 other counties, and there's very limited number of programs like this, which is why Harris is investing very heavily in Cuyahoga County. I think there's only 1 or 2 other options outside of a homegrown program. So this incentive could be, if we come to proper terms, be very helpful to the county in the future.
Yeah, so it's an opportunity for us to be, you know, along with, to be a real leader in this area by, we're sort of working with them to set the standard in how to do this going forward, so. Okay,
So, Jack,
yes, sir.
am I correct that, that earlier this year, we envisioned the go live date in January of 2021, but that in this contract amendment, the go live date is moved to October of 2021, and there's no late penalties unless it goes beyond December 31st, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct, but with a clarification. I know this was part of an earlier discussion. The cutover begins in October 2021, but we're not actually going to produce things out of the system and have full access to all of the functionality until December. So that's why the penalty clause is effective beginning in December or following December.
And Director, if we have an on-time implementation in October, would it be soon enough to use the system to generate the tax bills that would be issued in December of 2021, or would it not be until the next one?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and defer that to Debbie, but I think the answer is yes.
Yes, yes. The goal is to, we don't have a whole lot of activity that's happening in October, but the goal is to produce the tax bills out of the Harris system and collect out of the Harris system.
That's
Right.
correct.
Beginning right on time, as discussed. Okay. So cut over in October and begin producing items starting on time for the next year. Okay. Any other questions?
So to follow up on that, if the if the go live were delayed a month or so, could they meet the deadline to avoid a penalty, but we would still be unable to use the system for the December 2021 tax bills?
I don't envision that coming. I mean, you'll see in the slides coming, we're at 73% right now. We do have some hurdles to go, but we have a lot of time. At this time, I don't think that's an issue. I really believe truthfully that they want this more than we do. I mean, we definitely need it. Don't get me wrong. We have a working system, but I think we'll be done before that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And
Other questions?
before we continue, I'd like to make my colleagues aware that that I can still hear everything, but I've lost visual. So if anybody seeks recognition to ask a question, please speak up. Unmute yourself and speak up so that I can hear you and recognize you.
Councilman Miller, if I may, I lost visual too. I just tapped my screen. I don't know if that might help you.
Okay, I've got it back.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the next slide. So this gives you a visual picture, an actual picture of what was done to when we say we increase granularity on the deliverables and tie those deliverables to payments. This is what we mean. Specific. If you just look, for example, at these things, the area 5 or item 5 here, completion of functional testing, and item 6, completion of the user acceptance testing. You'll see lots of detail steps under here with specific payments and specific deliverables tied to them. Much more granular than the original on the left-hand side here is what was in the original contract. Okay. So not that I'm going to walk through this in detail, but you can see that the numbers are the same. Obviously, we didn't change the value of the deliverable. This is for Harris Tax. I should have preceded that, I guess. But you can see that we've got a lot more granular set of milestones and deliverables here. And the wording is we also eliminated wording that says, there were some wordings here that says commence acceptance testing, commence user training, things like that. That wording has gone away, and it's only on delivery of items, not on the commencement of items that is in the contract now. So those were some positive changes that we felt just to tighten up the wording in the contract. Okay. Moving on. So when we say that we in the contract, we also have defined in the amendment, we've defined specifically what these items mean. I'm going to let Debbie just talk to this because she's done a great job of adding clarity to what these deliverables are. Debbie, if I can ping pong back to you for this slide.
Sure. So in the contract amendment, you'll see that we actually created definitions for acceptance criteria for these items. So previously, as Jack stated, we had payment milestones that were to the beginning of testing phases or the beginning of training items. We modified that to say that once we have tested and completely accepted that the testing is complete and that the functionality is there with a certain percentage success rate, then it would be a milestone trigger for payment. So that was really important in this contract because, you know, obviously we could start a phase, but, you know, it didn't matter if it was successful or not, and they would still get a payment. Now they're not getting any payments until we've successfully signed off that the functionality is working as intended and there are no, you know, critical blocked items that would put us in a situation where we couldn't, for example, complete a tax bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're going to cover just some current status in a little bit more detail here to give you a visual picture for both tax and CAMA on where we are. So Debbie, I'll just let you continue to talk if you would, please.
Okay, sure. So the top bar is, you know, just represents all of the different phases that we have with the project. These aren't necessarily payment milestones, but they're project, you know, statuses or phases, I should say. So we've obviously completed the kickoff. All the requirements are complete. The system has been developed. We went through unit testing, and then as Mike indicated earlier on, we basically had a whole reset of this project where we weren't happy with the screen designs and the flow, and basically Harris went back and completely revisited and recoded portions of the project, and we started all over again with the acceptance testing. So where we're at now is we've completed the user acceptance training for that. So, you know, we walked through all of the modified functionality that they recoded back in March, and we're in the process of completing functional testing for that. We did move the functional testing out a bit, but we're using our existing buffer periods and a very long time that we had budgeted for system integration testing and bug fix so that we can maintain the schedule and go live in October of 21.
And speaking of functional testing, here's the current status of functional testing. Debbie, I don't know if you want to comment on this as well.
Sure, this just represents the various phases that we have. So if you see the kind of the chart on the lower right corner, these are all the different categories that we have payment milestones for. And this slide in particular shows where we're at with all of those test cases. So previously when we presented, we had about a 14% pass rate. We increased that to 31%. We anticipate that the number is going to be much higher, again, when we get our data refresh that was scheduled for today, and we can move a lot of those blocked cases out, test those cases, and hopefully see them pass.
Right.
And Ms. Daptovich, what is the projected target date for completion of the functional testing?
If we go back to the previous slide, I believe we slated that going through the end of October. Yes.
Okay,
Now, some of the areas could complete functional testing earlier. So, for example, just picking one, if Treasury functions were completed and tested, that could trigger a payment. But overall, for all of our combined functional areas, we're targeting through the end of October.
okay, thank you.
So I know that you had seen this chart, I think, on testing before. Now I just wanted you to be able to see how this was tied to the payment schedule directly at this point. So there is detail for these items 5A through 5F here. Payments, and we're not going to cover those in detail, but there are charts in the back of the presentation to look at so you can see the percent complete on each one of those phases at this point. Okay. So moving on to the CAMA project, Debbie, if you could just walk us through the same presentation here, but for CAMA.
Sure. So we added the CAMA modules as a contract amendment to the tax implementation. We started some requirements gathering and then basically kind of put that on hold as staff were going through the mass reappraisal efforts. So that wrapped up and we are back on track with the CAMA project. We're currently waiting on solution design from Harris on this. We've just about wrapped up. I think we have maybe 1 or 2 more sessions going through, deep dive requirements. And that's where we're at. We have done some work on the data conversion and, we're looking forward to moving forward with that. We do have different staff from Harris working on the CAMA effort. And, as we're looking at our staff, we're currently focused on tax. So once tax goes live, those resources will be moved over to the CAMA side to implement the CAMA project. And we are looking to add resources to help us with this effort as well.
And Ms. Daptovich, do we have a target date for go live on CAMA?
The CAMA go live is in 2022.
Right.
Do we have a specific date?
We do not have a specific date on that. It's not like the tax system where, ideally we would go live in the beginning of the year to produce tax bills. We can really go live at any point in the cycle for CAMA. So, we're just going to keep moving forward and try and stay on track to get that implemented in 2022.
Yeah, I think we'll have a much better idea of that once we get the solution design from Harris and then start looking at that in detail and then do a little more detailed planning at that point.
Right.
So,
And am I correct? There's no penalties for lateness on the CAMA project, only on the tax side.
that's correct. That's what's built into the amendment at this point.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. Speaking of staffing, just a note here to look at Debbie and this part of her team that to give you an idea how it lays out in an org chart. So you'll see that we have, I guess the first thing to talk about is the senior IT project manager slot. The reason the little arrow is stretching out to the left there is that if we hire the right person, we're hoping that we can find this person, that we'd have a senior project manager that would remain with the project and really take over this other position of the real property tax and CAMA systems manager. That's that position that I spoke of earlier that would oversight the maintenance and care of this system over its lifetime for the county going forward. That's the person we're really looking for. If we can also get that combined into the project manager that starts to take responsibility for it now, and that would be ideal. We do have a project manager, Joanne, that's on the phone with us now. She'll, at the end of the Harris portion of the project, she'll be retiring. So we want to make sure that we begin to fill those vacancies now, and we need all the eyes possible on this thing now to keep it on track now. We also have 2 vacant positions that we're recruiting for, a developer and another systems analyst that can work on this project. We're short-staffed a bit at this time, and that's one of the reasons we got people working hard and working excess hours or, exchange time hours to make sure that we keep it on track. And they've done a good job of catching us up, but we do need to augment the staff and fill these positions, so that's underway at this point.
Director, who's holding the top position on the chart, the Web Development and Applications Administrator?
That is Debbie. That's her. This is just part of her responsibility. She has, let's see, let me get the number right, Debbie. How many other people you've got 3 other areas that you're responsible for, and I think that's 23 people, something like that?
Yes, we have I have the web designers and developers. Currently have the SAP team, which will, some of those people will migrate over to Infor, and then the real property area.
Right.
Well, Ms. Daftovich, you've been an island of stability in a department that's seen a lot of changes. So we're happy that you're still around.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll second and third that. So, been invaluable in getting us to this point, keeping us on track. Okay, well, last but certainly not least here, we are requesting referral from the Budget and Finance Committee to the full council on September the 29th agenda with a recommendation for approval without further reading. So the contract does expire at the end of September. I think Harris has made an extremely good faith effort to work with us to get this done. I think we've got the right team in place, both on the county side and the Harris side, and I'm confident in the dates that we've presented.
So, Director, thank you very much for that presentation, and I'm now going to ask my colleagues if there's any further questions about any of the presentation, and specifically about Resolution 2020-198, which is the resolution that would approve amendment to the contract with Harris. Hearing no further questions, would somebody be willing to make a motion to recommend Resolution 2020-198 to the full council with recommendation that it be put on the agenda for final approval at the council meeting on September 29th under suspension?
So move.
Second, Brown.
It's been moved by Councilman Schwan, seconded by Councilwoman Brown to recommend Resolution 2020-198 to the full council with recommendation to leadership for second reading suspension. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is recommended. Thank you very much for the presentations, and the only thing I have under miscellaneous business is to remind everybody that the next administration update on the ERP project is going to be at our next regularly scheduled time, 2 weeks from today, on Monday, October the 5th at 1 p.m. I understand that that we're going to get one piece of finance-related legislation at the 29th council meeting, so we'll try to take care of that at the same time. And also, 3 days later on Thursday at 1 p.m. in the Committee of the Whole, we will have the discussion with our consultant, Zig Berzens. So that's what's coming down the road. A month after that, in November, the budget update hearings are going to start. Does anybody have any other miscellaneous business? Hearing none, with no further business commanding our attention, I would like to thank everybody for their time and attention, and the Finance and Budgeting Committee stands adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Thank you.